I want to touch on one thing first, which is we had a Rookie of the Year discussion right around Christmas. I think it was the first episode we put out in January in 2024. And to a certain fan base, I think our discussion came off a little flippant when we were talking about Wembanyama's Rookie of the Year. For all three of us, I would like to apologize for that. I would like to apologize. However, and by the way, the Spurs fans did it. They literally examined every word, every bit of our body language. Like, I get it. We came across flippant, and I'm owning that. And I'm admitting that. And I'm apologizing for that. However, at the time, although I came off flippant, I still believed that at the time I would have Chet Holmgren in the lead for Rookie of the Year. At the time, Wembanyama is having, I would say, one of the best rookie seasons of all time. I don't think that's like a hyperbole. His play of late has been outstanding. They've got their lineups right now where, like, when he's on the court, it's impacting winning. Now, it's not impacting winning at the highest level where they're moving up the standings and, going to be in the playoffs, but it's really good basketball. And we're going to talk Rookie of the Year, I think, at the end of this. But let's talk Wembanyama. What have you guys seen from him, and what have you guys seen from the Spurs of late that has you really excited?
I think for me, I'll try to pull it into niche town for a little bit. For me, I'm having a lot of fun with the off-ball movement with Wemby offensively, and the way that they are moving him around the chessboard, the way that they're using Devin Vassell to screen for him, Trey Jones to screen for him. And from there, it's like, what do you do as a defense? Because you're not switching your smallest players onto this 7'4" demigod. And so now you're fighting over, you're trying to like knock him off his spots, and he is just too good, too slithery for you to be able to do that at this point. I think throughout the year, I think everyone's kind of talked about what is the strength going to look like in year one. And like, obviously there's room for him to get stronger. But I think as the year's gone on, he has done a better job of establishing positioning before he gets the catch. And once you pair that with these weird screening angles, these smaller screening partners, it's put so much strain on your defense. And then from there, like, the handle has gotten tighter from him. He's been able to get to his spots. He's been able to boogie and ISO, like a possession I think about. And he's had a ton of wild ones post All-Star break, which his numbers are absurd. We'll get into that. There was a play against Minnesota. It was a sideline play. Trey Jones inbounds the ball. Devin Vassell sets this down screen for Wemby. He catches it in the middle of the paint against Kyle Anderson. Rudy Gobert is guarding Jeremy Sohan, so he just sinks down to doubles. Julian Champagnie and Jeremy Sohan cut at the same time. And I'm just like, what is happening here? That's not great. But the ball finds its way back to Wemby, and he catches it on the right wing against Kyle Anderson. And this man goes full 2K ISO mode and flows into this sidestep three that touches nothing but bottom. And for me, it's like, I like the usage. I like the initial idea. It's cool that they're getting different people to screen for him, getting them the ball in different areas. But then you just get to like the end of the day portions. Like, Wemby can just shoot and knock down anything you want him to. And if he's going to knock down 44% of his pull-up threes like he has been post All-Star break, I don't know what you do with him.
I'm glad you mentioned this.
Yeah, so I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to comment on that because that's where I think we all envisioned at some point. And I think for a lot of people, it was like, well, at some point in the future, in year 3, in year 4. And now it's like, no, we're just post All-Star break Rookie of the Year. And we're at that point. We're like, what do you do with him?
Well, it's funny because in the guys, we talked about the shot selection with Wemby, and then you look up and he's actually shooting 41% on pull-up threes for the whole year. Last 15 games is 45.7. And I think the point you made about the cutting is really fun. One of the best parts about what San Antonio has done, despite the noise about point guard play, let's open this up. Let's let Wemby play. Let's let them find out who they are. Let's not put him in a box. And so you get these plays where he grabs a rebound, he's going into pick and roll, someone's screening for him. You have the set design plays where he's in the corner, comes off a pin down, and now he's playing out of it. And I think the growth has come from when he sees these cross matches and he's getting deeper in the paint. He's getting these deeper seals and going right to work. The one thing I want to add to that is the pick and roll play has been really fun. with San Antonio going inverted action, having different people screen for him quickly, I think that's been great, especially when you not only add the pull-up through shooting, but the passing to where you want to go show and recover as a defense, one dribble wrap around pass or one dribble, I'm very tall, I can still see this pass. So the passing is popped. And I think overall, you put that together, the movement, his footwork, and you watch, like we can talk about the screening at some point, but he's working to try and get, okay, let me get it to you, screen. Oh, they went under. Let's get another rescreen. Let me get back into position. Let's keep things moving. I think that's been really great. Like I always feel bad for guys like Indiana, Jalen Smith just in help position. Here comes Wemby, one plant, cut, lob, because I'm very tall. So it's been fun. There's been some good defense stuff. I know. I'm sure JJ has some stuff. I am going to push back though, because we did ask, hey, what's the path for Wemby at that point in time? And every game setting a historic thing that we've never seen before sure seems like the way to do it. I'll throw that out there.
And we talked about the efficiency, and look, I'll touch on that right now. I'll touch on that right now because at the end of last season, when Jalen Williams had his run post All-Star break, I brought up the fact that he deserves some consideration. I didn't say Paolo does not deserve to be Rookie of the Year. I just said Jalen Williams deserves some consideration. And at the time, Magic fans killed me, which is fine. Like, we're all going to stand for our people. Like, I get it. But I did say, like, the roles are different. Ultimately, I voted for Banchero. Like, it was not even a question for me. The roles are different. And I think in this case, between Chet and Wemby, the roles are very different, right? You're talking about a guy in Wembanyama who has the highest usage rate by any rookie in the last 45 years. In fact, he's number 6 in the entire NBA this season. And those guys ahead of him are Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Anthony Edwards. Like, that's what he's being asked to do. That's what he's being asked to do. He is a high usage player as a rookie, one of the highest usage players in the NBA this season. So you have to account for role. You have to account for what's being asked. And so you certainly have to account for the talent around him. I think we can all agree Chet has more talent around him. By the way, Oklahoma City fans, I'm not talking anyone out of Chet Holmgren, still being in the Rookie of the Year race. I'm just framing Wembanyama, so chill out. See some of you getting uncomfortable. Couple things on what Steve said. The wraparound passes are so fun. They're so fun. I love that. I love the inverted pick and rolls. Hopefully we'll have more on inverted pick and rolls later this week because I love it. And the most important thing you said was the growth with the cross matches, because what I have seen early in the year was him just playing, right? And to a degree, Pop just letting him play. And what I've seen lately is more thought to how I'm playing and where I can exploit mismatches and where I can exploit my size and where can I exploit my unique skill set. The thinking part of it is the growth to me. And we're going to touch more on that later. I do want to get into some of these stats. Okay. So he's number 1 in the league in blocks per game, number 1 in total blocks, number 12 in steals. I said this at the beginning of the year, at some point he's just going to be his own defense, right? He's just going to be his own defense. He had 31-12, 6 assists, 6 blocks in the win versus Pacers. He's the first rookie with 25 points, 5 assists, 5 blocks in consecutive games since blocks became official in 1973, 1974. He's only the 4th player ever to do that in consecutive games. In his last 8, he's averaging 25, 12, and 5 assists and 5.4 blocks on 51-42 shooting splits. He's the 3rd player ever to average that in an 8-game span. He shot 45% on threes his last 12. He's the first player ever in NBA history with 50 blocks and 25 made three-pointers over a 12-game span. Here's what's crazy. This is from Matthew Williams. Shout out to Matthew Williams, our stats guru over at ESPN. He has the most points per minute for a rookie since Michael Jordan in 1984-85. And here's the sort of the icing on the cake for me. He's the only player. Think about this stat. This Frame this stat, Jason Gallagher. He's the only player in NBA history with 175 assists, 175 blocks, and 75 made threes in a season. It's March 4th. He's the only NBA player in history to do this. What the fuck?
I don't. I
what
know
the fuck?
what I said. Yeah. I don't know what you do with that. Like, I think about when we had our earlier conversation, and Steve, I kind of talked about Rookie of the Year as well on the dunker spot, where, early on, especially when we had our conversation on the old man 3 things, like, I think we all had Chet ahead because of his role within what OKC was doing on both ends of the floor, the efficiency gap. There was also, if you cared about that portion early on in the season, there was a game/minutes gap between the two as well. And now that Wemby is no longer on the minutes restriction, he's playing more consistently, and he's also doing all of this. Like, it's easy to say, yep, this is what it was back in December. This is what it is right now. It's fine to do so. Like, the Wemby stats you just dropped also are just insane. Like, I had some second spectrum stuff about what he's doing coming off screens, some of the pick and roll defense stuff that's gotten, like, that's probably the scariest part. Like, as he's
I want to hear him. Let's use these. This is fun. Stats are fun. This is my favorite part of the show. This is why I do this show on Mondays. I want to nerd out, Nekias. Let's go. Give me the stats.
Okay, we'll go very quickly. With Wemby coming off of screens post All-Star break, 1.52 points per possession on those trips when Wemby's coming off of the screen. That's second to Scotty Barnes. Off-ball screens, yeah. Yes. So that is second to Scotty Barnes among 113 players to receive at least 25 of those. As we talk about the usage with Wemby as a screener or a handoff partner, the partnership between him and Devin Vassell has been really good, 1.2 points per possession on those. Post All-Star break, quick salute to Jackson Frank, who just wrote an article about Spurs and how they're using Wemby there. That sparked the search for me. Among 29 players to defend at least 100 pick and rolls post All-Star break, 0.78 points per possession allowed on those trips. That is second to Brook Lopez. That seems pretty darn good, I would say. And then just in terms of traditional pick and roll duos, 82 with at least 30 reps since the All-Star break. The Trey Jones, Victor Wembanyama pick and roll at 1.38 points per possession is fourth in the league. That is behind Giannis and Brook, Luka Doncic and PJ Washington, and Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis continue to blitz the league with their partnership. So, like, that's some of the stuff. And then on the year, the Spurs with a 113.9 defensive rating with Wemby on the court. Per cleaning the glass, that would be the equivalent of 8th. With him off the floor, not only is it the worst defense in the league, it is the worst defense in the league by nearly 3 points per 100 possessions when he is on the bench. And so as he is figuring out some of the minor things with footworks, like low-key, he's towards the bottom in terms of drop coverage this year, which is funny. He's still blocking a bunch of shots, altering a whole bunch of others. Teams take way fewer shots at the rim with him on the court. He's having this impact now, and there are objective things to point to that he can clean up the footwork here. He can clean up some of the depth in his drop here, and he's this impactful already. Like, he's top 10 in defensive EPM this year. It's ridiculous what he's doing.
Can I nerd out non-stat division real quick?
Yes.
I think my favorite part is watching what teams try to do to move him around the court. Because Pacers run stack pick and roll. Wemby's just like, absolutely not. I'm just going to move around this because I'm very tall. In transition, Pascal Siakam just hits a rhythm corner 3. Wemby's on the block. Wemby just slowly lurks towards him, and you just see shot fake. Nope, I'm just going to pass this. Started the second half, and they were like, fine, Wemby, we'll put you on the strong side corner. We'll put you over here on the right corner. This will surely help this with us. A Halliburton goes screen. Nembhard turns the corner, goes left. Hey, guess who's there? Victor Wembanyama. Just whatever, man. I'll just come block this. And my favorite bit is, like, more guys, we've seen the highlights of people getting some on him, being physical with him, hitting him. My favorite thing now is when someone tries to hit him, you just see a limb go in the air as he continues to trap the ball with his foot. And he's just like, hey, I'm still here. Like, you hit me and I took it, but, like, you have to now shoot over my hand. And the odds are in my favor. That's my favorite thing he does.
Very quickly, because JJ, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, and Stevie brought it up as well, just what he's doing positioning wise when he sees these cross matches. Quickly wanted to look this up. On post ups against non-centers, post All-Star break, 1.24 points per possession on those post ups from Victor Wembanyama, which is one of the best marks in the league. It's higher than Jokic.
Yeah. And yeah, I was going to say historically, I've looked this stat up for something else I was working on. I don't know, maybe 10 days ago, a 1.24 post-up points per direct post-up efficiency rate would be number one in the league in most years of the tracking era. Number one. And Porzingis, I think, would probably, his is the highest all time, but I want to say 1.24 may be the second highest. I mean, I think I had a couple at 1.23, right? So like those are insane numbers. And again, post All-Star break against cross matches, so it's not overall, but still, that's what we were talking about in terms of figuring out how to exploit those cross matches. You guys touched on a couple things that I have a very broad question here, because when I had a couple Spurs games early on, and so we would ask Pop in our coaches meetings about Vic, and one of the themes that happened over and over was he would talk about fundamentals, right? And again, in my discussion for this week's Old Man and the Three, I have a former player on, a former All-Star, and we talked about the difference between skill set and fundamentals, right? There's the skill set conversation, which is all the things that he can do on a basketball court, and then the fundamentals, which every young player now coming into the league has to learn, because it's not necessarily being taught, particularly in America. It's not being taught, right? And to me, the footwork piece has gotten a lot better. The balance was something that Pop talked a ton about. The balance on his shot is getting a lot better. You guys brought up the shot selection. That's getting better. I thought early in the year there was some like, what the are you doing type shit. You know what I mean? And so the overall question is just related to fundamentals. Are you guys seeing his fundamentals? You brought up drop coverage footwork, right? Are you seeing at least the fundamentals trending in the right direction? Have they gotten better throughout this season?
I would say yes. And I point to the drive numbers aren't much higher, but when he faces up, he's a lot more comfortable setting up the jab and going. And it's a lot more fluid than it used to be, even if he absorbs contact. When he sets and come off screens, you can feel that movement, and he's setting you up with the plant. And so I think those little things are helping him shine through in a different level. I think defensively you feel it more too, because you can see him feeling better in space, not just being like, I'm tall, I'm blocking off this part of the court, where no, I'm going to show, I'm going to help, I'm going to recover, I'm going to close back out, I'm going to keep the ball back in front. So I think having that better movement has also allowed more confidence, especially with physical contact. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand for me. What are you saying, guys?
Yeah, I think for me, like, it's gotten better. Like, I just look at what he's doing once like the double team comes. Like, I think he's doing a better job of diagnosing that without getting too loose with the ball. And even as he's dealing with contact on the block, if he goes with an up fake, he doesn't like it. Like, the pivots seem cleaner. He's not losing his footing. He's not losing his balance as much as he was earlier in the year, which, to that point, he would lose his balance and still have his arm like half a foot above whoever's contesting his shot, and he can still get those shots to go in. But it does feel like that's gotten better, and I feel like that's a part of why you're seeing him get to the free throw line a little bit more. I think there is just an efficiency of movement and just an overall decisiveness when he has the ball inside the arc that I'm really starting to enjoy. And to the screening portion, like post All-Star break, look this up really quickly, connecting on nearly 60% of his own ball screens this year. I will just be kind and say that number is higher than what it was earlier in the year. I have some like rookie report stuff in my notes from that on that portion. He's getting better at actually making contact. And Steve nailed it earlier about his willingness to rescreen and how he's setting it up without getting like the moving screens and stuff like that. So for me, it's very much trending upward. And that is a fun/terrifying thought for the rest of the league.
It's just fun. It's just fun. I basketball is fun.